Hello everyone and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to teasers on Thursday, August 13th, The Bold and the Beautiful, BNB, Brooke Logan Forrester, Catherine Kelly Lang, will have a much-needed diversion while Steffy Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, will vent her fury on Sheila Carter, Kimberlyn Brown. In Monaco, Brooke and Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., will worry over the unfavorable news they recently got. Ridge and Brooke's anger over Katie Logan Spencer's Heather Tom fashion firm has increased because they learned that Logan caused them to lose a loyal client. Everything Brooke has learned will make her feel awful, especially after Fanny Grayson, LCS Nolt, revealed a Logan bargain. Although Ridge isn't pleased with what they've discovered either, he doesn't want this to spoil the remainder of their trip to Monaco. According to BNB spoilers, Ridge will be a delightful diversion because of this. For a while at least, Brooke won't be able to resist concentrating on their romance rather than her rivalry with Katie, since Ridge will truly turn on the charm. Daphne Rose Walton, Muriel Hilaire, will focus on her diagnosis and all of her baby heartache in the interim. Carter Walton, Lawrence St. Victor, will try to assist Daphne see another route to parenting by pointing out that she is still capable of carrying a kid. No matter where this journey leads them, Daphne will reassure Carter of her love because she will value having him as a support system. Now that she's found Sheila on the beach, Steffy will go all out for her back in Monaco. Tanner Novlan's character John Finnegan will be horrified to see Steffy lose her temper and possibly acknowledge that she traveled with him. There may be some risk at some point since Steffy and Sheila's confrontation will take an unexpected turn. Could Sheila find herself in a predicament where she must act quickly to save Steffy's life? In any event, the drama will intensify and produce some unexpected outcomes by the end of the week. According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, there will be plenty of action during Steffy and Sheila's confrontation, so keep an eye on the CBS soap opera. Steffy Forrester walked the private stretch of beach close to their hotel as the sun hung low over the Mediterranean, painting the Monaco shoreline in shades of scarlet and gold. The smell of salt and pricey perfume permeated the air, clinging to the affluent tourists who crowded the cafes and casinos above. Determined to recover the magic she and Finn had once shared here, she had come here days before with great expectations. Their second chances were silently seen by the chapel where he had reappeared after she thought he was dead. Today was meant to be about them, healing, moving on from the past, and demonstrating that their marriage could endure anything. However, the past seemed to follow them. Ever before his plane touched down, Finn had been aloof. Whenever she inquired about the flight, he would shift the topic, grin too fast, and keep looking over his shoulder as though he was expecting someone. Steffy attributed it to jet lag and the strain of juggling Forrester Creations' growing worldwide business with their family. Ridge and Brooke were close by, taking care of business, allowing the newlyweds some privacy. With reliable assistance, Hayes was secure again in Los Angeles. Everything ought to have been flawless. She then noticed the toes. There were 8 of them. Unique. Clearly identifiable. Not 20 yards away, protruding from beneath a white towel on a lounge chair. Steffy felt her blood run cold. Unwillingly, she was familiar with those feet. One of Sheila Carter's several violent encounters had resulted in the loss of 2 toes, and the remaining digits had turned into a hideous signature. "Finn," she uttered in a sharp, low voice. He pivoted, tracking her eyes. His face lost its color. Sheila sat up, confirming Steffy's suspicions with a slight slip of the towel. Across the dunes, their gazes met. Neither woman moved for a considerable amount of time. The uncaring rhythm of the waves persisted. A group of travelers' distant laughter drifted through the air. Then Sheila got up, encircling herself with a towel like a cape, and approached them with the comfortable, carefree assurance that had always made Steffy shudder. Sheila greeted Steffy as though they were old friends getting together for coffee. "Isn't it a lovely day?" Steffy balled her hands into fists. "You trailed us." With one arm raised as though he could physically separate the 2 women, Finn moved between them and said, "You actually followed us here." "We discussed this, Sheila. You said, I said I would stay away if I could. Sheila cut in with a gentle yet firm tone. However, I was unable to. Not with my son here. Steffy gave a brief, resentful laugh. Not when my grandson's mother is determined to erase me from their lives. Delete you. You've been attempting to ruin everything I hold dear for years. Finn was shot by you. You thought he was dead. I thought he was gone because of you. My family was terrified by you. And now you act as though you have a right to be here on our anniversary trip. Sheila's gaze shifted from Steffy to Finn and back again. I came because I adore him. Because I want to have the opportunity to be a part of his life without you shutting doors behind me. Is it really so difficult to comprehend? Yes, Steffy angrily said. Because every time you say you love someone, they end up broken or bleeding. Sheila, you're poison. You always have been. Neither of them anticipated how quickly the conflict would intensify. Words became acute. There were several accusations. Steffy was reminded by Sheila of all the times the Forresters had excluded her. Steffy enumerated all the crimes, manipulations, and instances of sheer malice. As the two women circled around one another like predators, Finn attempted to negotiate, his voice increasing in desperation. Hotel employees peered over, then hurriedly averted their gaze. When it came to the kind of drama that belonged in the tabloids, nobody wanted to get involved. Sheila moved closer at one point, speaking in a barely audible whisper. You believe that you are superior to me. You believe you have the right to choose Finn's partner because of your ideal existence. But when it comes to defending what is rightfully yours, you are as brutal. Steffy responded icily. Don't pretend otherwise. Sheila said with a weak smile. The difference is I don't kill people to get what I want. Not yet, the anxiety erupted. Steffy pointed a finger inches from Sheila's face as she pushed forward, using all of her rage rather than a physical blow. Board a plane. Oh. I'll make sure everyone knows who you are if I see you around my husband or my son once more. There won't be any second chances this time. No agreements. Sheila refused to be forgiven. I won't go unless Finn instructs me to. And even then I might not. At last, Finn was able to speak louder than before. Stop, both of you. He turned to Sheila and said, This is not the place. You must leave. Right now. What I stated on the plane was true. Steer clear of Steffy. Avoid coming near us. When I return to Los Angeles, I will give you a call. If there's anything further to discuss. But not here. Sheila's face changed. Her face briefly showed signs of vulnerability before hardening once again. You're picking her over your mother. Once more, Finn declared. I'm picking my wife and my son. Sheila glanced between them before slowly nodding. And the only way to protect them is to keep you at a distance. All right, I'm going off the beach. But Steffy, this is far from over. With the towel still securely wrapped around her, she turned and headed toward the hotel's staircase. Steffy's pulse was racing so hard she could feel it in her throat as she stared until Sheila was out of sight. She withdrew when Finn reached for her hand. You were aware, she remarked. You were aware that she was aboard that aircraft. You were aware of her presence. Finn's shoulders slumped. And you didn't tell me. I was attempting to manage it. I thought if I could get her to leave quietly. Steffy's voice broke. You thought wrong. She always manages to get in. Always. And each time you attempt to control her, it explodes up in our faces. They stood silently for a considerable amount of time, the waves filling the void left by their inability to speak. Finn eventually spoke once again, but more softly. I adore you. Above all I wanted was for this trip to be about us. Concerning the chapel. Steffy closed her eyes and thought. About remembering how far we've come. The chapel. Bells. When she had assumed he would never return. He had suddenly reappeared in her life. She could still feel the beauty and pain of that recollection beneath her skin. That suffering had initially been caused by Sheila. And now she was back, contaminating the same location that had once offered them hope. Steffy responded. I need air. Alone. She moved away from him, following the shoreline's curvature to a rocky protrusion that protruded into the ocean. The sand gave way to spray-slick stone as the path grew narrower. She climbed higher than she intended to because she needed the distance and the wind blowing in her face to quell the anger that was still raging in her chest. From this vantage point, the beach appeared like a narrow ribbon of gold, and the hotel seemed tiny. Finn was still standing where she had left him, staring behind her with his hands in his pockets. It had been damaged by Sheila. Once more. From the moment those toes emerged beneath the towel, the confrontation had been certain. It seemed incomplete even though Steffy had said what she needed to. Sheila never left. Every time she returned, she had a fresh perspective, a fresh argument, or a fresh method of twisting the knife. Steffy gazed out at the ocean while leaning against the low stone railing that bordered the path. The sky was turning purple, and the sun had almost completely disappeared. She considered Hayes, the life they were creating, and the commitments she and Finn had made to one another. She recalled all the times she had attempted to set a firm boundary with Sheila and all the times it had been crossed. Footsteps scuffed the stone behind her. Expecting Finn, she turned. Rather, Sheila was standing a few yards away, her black clothing blending in with the waning light, and she was no longer covered by the towel. Her face was unreadable. Steffy responded, "I told you to go." Sheila took a cautious step closer and said, "I needed to say one more thing. You're correct about me. I've committed horrible acts. I have harmed those I profess to love. However, I'm not the only one who can cross boundaries. Remember how you once shot me?" Eric also ensured that I never filed a complaint. Steffy's jaw stiffened. "We both have blood on our hands in different ways. You dare not compare." The railing beneath her hand moved. The stone protested softly and grindingly, worn by years of weather and salt. A moment too late, Steffy sensed the abrupt yield. She lost her balance. The world was slanted. When she reached for firm footing, all she found was air. She stumbled. The water crashed against the rough rocks below with enough force to smash them, even if the drop was just 15 or 20 feet. Halfway down, Steffy's body crashed into a small ledge, causing her to lose her breath. Her side erupted in pain. With her legs hanging over the dark water and her fingers scratching the stone, she searched for a purchase. She would slide the remainder of the way into the sea if she made one mistake. "Steffy!" Sheila's voice was shrill and almost panicked as it pierced through the wind. Steffy's damaged side screamed in protest as she attempted to stand up. She lost her hold. She let forth a hoarse, scared cry. Sheila's face emerged above the shattered railing above her. Their gazes briefly locked, condensing years of animosity, terror, and complex history into a single glance. Sheila then made a move. She didn't think twice. Reaching down with both arms, she fell to her stomach. "Grasp my hand." Now, Steffy gazed at the extended hand as though it were someone else's. Her entire being resisted taking this woman's assistance. However, her weight was causing the ledge to collapse. Below, the water was waiting. Pride was subordinated to survival. She extended her hand. Sheila had a firm, almost frantic hold. With her feet braced against the stone and her muscles strained, she hauled with everything she had. Steffy's body scraped upward, agony intensifying with each step. It appeared as though they might both fall for a terrible minute. Then Sheila pushed Steffy over the edge and onto firm ground with one last burst of power. Breathing heavily, they fell together on the walkway. Steffy has burns on her side. Her hands were unclean. Chest heaving, Sheila sat a few feet away and stared at her as though she was still in shock at what she had just done. Both were silent for a considerable amount of time. Steffy winced as she finally forced herself to sit. "Why?" Sheila's voice was soft and nearly muffled by the wind. "For once, I didn't want to be the cause of someone else's breakdown. Because if I let you fall, Finn would never be able to forgive me. Because maybe I'm sick of being the monster that everyone expects." Steffy gave her a serious look. With scraped palms and real dread still in her eyes, the lady who had tortured her family for years sat there. Sheila Carter saved the life of the daughter-in-law, who detested her the most after a confrontation that had begun with threats and accusations. The past was not erased by it. They didn't become friends as a result. It did not imply that Steffy had faith in her. However, something had changed in the area between them that neither of them could yet identify. As they got closer, Finn's voice could be heard screaming their names from the beach below. The fear in it was audible to Steffy. She gave Sheila one last look. She remarked, "This doesn't change everything." Sheila gave a slow nod. "I am aware. But perhaps it makes a difference." Steffy remained silent. She concentrated on breathing through the agony, on the sound of her husband's footsteps approaching, and on the weird, disturbing realization that the woman who had previously attempted to harm her was now the reason she was still alive. The fall wasn't shocking. It wasn't even a rescue. For the first time in their lengthy and violent history, Sheila Carter had made the silent, indisputable decision to preserve Steffy Forrester rather than watch her shatter. And neither of them was yet aware of the price of that decision. The rocky road that wound above the blue lake was covered in sharp shadows as the Mediterranean sun hung high above Monaco's cliffs. With her heart still pounding from the altercation that had just erupted on the beach below, Steffy Forrester stood at the edge of a little overlook. Behind her eyes, the picture of those 8 toes seared, unmistakable, hideous in their familiarity. Carter Sheila. Right here. While traveling for their anniversary. The lady who had shot Finn, abandoned him, and permeated every aspect of their life for years like a poison that would not go out of the bloodstream. Steffy grasped the low stone railing with trembling hands. She had torn the towel off herself, gazing down into those cold, calculating eyes that were never truly human. The yelling had been loud and quick. Accusations. Dangers. Too many years of her marriage had been defined by the same old war. Finn had attempted to step in. His voice strained from being both a husband and a son, but Steffy had refused to accept his intervention. She had desired Sheila's departure. Exiled. Removed from this location that was meant to be theirs alone. Steffy had growled on the sand. "You followed us," her words tasting like metal. "You reserved a seat beside him. Like a crazy onlooker, you sat there and observed us at the church. What does that do to me, do you know? To us?" Sheila had carefully stood up, clutching the towel to her chest as her countenance wavered between wounded innocence and something colder. "I came because I adore my son. I wanted him to be happy. Is that really a crime?" Steffy had responded. "Everything you touch becomes a crime. Just because you're lonely, bored, or desperate for a second chance you never earned doesn't mean you get to rewrite history." The debate had gotten so bad that other beachgoers started to stare. Even if Finn had eventually pulled Steffy away with promises and mumbled apologies, the harm had already been done. The knowledge that Sheila had been waiting in the shadows the entire time, taking it in, had poisoned the sacred recreation of their reunion. The moment Finn had once appeared at that exact cathedral after everyone thought he was dead. Hours later, Steffy was in need of fresh air. Claiming to need a walk to decompress, she had abandoned Finn in the hotel suite. It had felt safe enough to go along the cliffs, a place to reflect without the burden of his meticulous explanations or the recollection of Sheila's face. However, the anger would not go away. The certainty that Sheila would always find a way back and stirred inside her, blending with the old anxiety that had never quite subsided. That no distance, no plea, and no restraining order would ever be sufficient. The drop to the rocks and sea below appeared steeper than it had from a distance as she took another step along the uneven stones. Her hair was pulled by the wind. The sound of waves crashing somewhere far below should have been calming. Rather, it was like a countdown. The sound of the waves was broken by a voice. "Steffy." She pivoted. Sheila was 10 feet away, her eyes protected by heavy glasses and a scarf around her head. Either she followed them from the beach or she followed them to the hotel and bided her time. The woman was unrelenting in ways that were beyond the capabilities of the average person. Steffy uttered the final cold words. "Stay away from me. This time I really mean it. I'll make a police call." Sheila took off the spectacles and said, "If necessary, I will have you removed from this country." The calculation never left her red-rimmed eyes. I'm not here to fight. Not now. I watched you go out of the hotel. I just wanted to let you know that I can see why you despise me. I've explained everything to you. However, I'm not here to steal from you. Not Finn. Not your kids. You don't get nearness, Steffy shot back. I only wanted to be near him for a little while. You face repercussions. He was shot by you. While you secretly acted as a savior, you gave me the impression that he was dead. Sheila's mouth clenched. You have blood on your hands and you still think you can stand here and talk about love. I once saved his life. I'd do it once more. And yours if it came to that. The assertion hit home. Steffy gave a brief, resentful laugh. Don't use fairy tales to offend me. No one has ever been saved by you without a purpose. It's all about you. Your necessity. Your fixation. Your dream that one day we'll all gather around a table and call you family, she said, turning back toward the walkway with the intention of leaving to establish a firm distance between them. A stray stone caught her foot. She felt the world tilt for a brief pulse. The plunge was more severe and the guardrail was lower than it appeared. Her fingertips scraped the stone as she tried for balance, but the momentum kept her moving. Before she could stop it, the scream sprang from her throat.